So we've done our setup for text. We've animated in our text, we've given it a background, and we've done all that manually. Now it's time to show you how to do it in just a couple of clicks. The reason why I've shown you how to do it manually first is because I think it's important to know how things work. And I think a lot of tips and a lot of technique that you've learned in that section will help you for so many different elements within Premiere Pro. But as with everything in Premiere Pro, there's a number of ways to do things with varying degrees of success. So we're going to go back into our Essential Graphics panel, and rather than editing what we've already made, let's go to Browse. Now you'll have different things here. These are a few things that I've downloaded in the past. But if I scroll down, you should have these things right here. And these are the Adobe stock motion graphics templates. These are a few that I've made for clients. This is something that I made, I think, for a client. I think I made that, or maybe that's, no, I think that's actually Adobe's. And this is the one that we're going to play with right now. However, we have a problem. And the problem is we have this warning sign up here, which is T. And that says, what that says is that there's a problem with the text. And the problem is that there's a font missing. So this uses a font that we don't have. Now, in years gone by, that was a real problem, because in Adobe, you were only allowed to activate a certain number of fonts at any one time. They've changed their policy quite recently, and now you can activate as many fonts from Adobe Fonts as you like, as long as you have the subscription. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to size this down a little bit, and I'm going to get rid of Pizza Time. We had a laugh. Bye. And we're going to grab this, what we want right here. Don't forget, we've got a search bar up here. You've got a local templates folder. These are all my local templates. So these are the ones that I've downloaded. These are the ones that I've already got from Adobe. We also have libraries. Now, we're not going to deal with libraries here because I don't really have much of a library, but we can go to stock templates, and that would be the stock templates that you've downloaded from Adobe Stock, should you wish to. And you can look in Adobe Stock by clicking on here. Now, within Adobe Stock, you can also select whether you want free or premium. Now, premium is kind of how it says, and you can get ones that you can pay for, or you can just look at the free ones. And these are all free motion graphics. There's only, page 1 of 9 pages. There's 6 on this page, and we can click along and see all the different ones. This is changing all the time, so there's a number here that I actually haven't seen, and we will deal with these in a little bit. But first and foremost, we're going to get it a little bit more simple for now, and we're going to uncheck libraries, and we're in my templates. So these are templates that I've already got down. So as I said, we're going to play with the lower third, which is, where's the basic lower third gone? It's on B. There we go. And we're going to grab this, and we're just going to drag it onto here. See how it comes on in a slightly bigger size than we normally would? That's because Adobe has decided that this is it's the length that it wants to default at. It doesn't have to be that length, just like with any kind of graphics. You can have it as short or as long as you want it to be. But what this comes in with is a default setup for you. And remember how we were looking at Pizza Time and there was one line here? Well, there's now 2 lines here. So let's click in them. So your name here and second line is smaller. That works with, it's actually in upside down. I don't know why that is. It's a bit annoying. But let's click in your name here. And now we can affect what we want. But bear in mind that these square brackets or parentheses mean that it's a font that isn't currently on your system. There's a real problem with Adobe fonts. And it's ongoing. And I think they're trying to sort out the fixes. But this has been like this for quite a number of years now, because I do have Myriad in my system. If I come up here and look, Myriad Pro is right there. If I click that, it actually changes, because what it was doing at first, is it was emulating some kind of font that it thought it was, but it's not. Just be aware of that, because sometimes it can really trip you up. And it can, if I did nothing, this is the font that it would show in my clip. And I'm not really happy with that, because that's not the font I want. But the beauty is you can change to whatever font you want. So I'm going to go to Nor'Wester, because you know how much I love Nor'Wester. So now we've got that in the font that we want. We can click into the second line is smaller, and we can do that with that if we like. We can change the font, but I'm all right with that being that font. So what can we do from here? Well, as you can see, if we click into the first one, we have the same things available to us like we had with just one graphic, but it's just now stacked because we've got more than one element of graphic within the same graphic. So we can change the fill. So let's change the fill. In fact, let's not. I quite like white. Should we add a stroke? Yeah, why not? Let's add a stroke. Should we set that color? Maybe set it to red. Can hardly see it. Should we size that up a little bit? Oh, okay, that may be a little bit too much. I'm happy with that. Your name here. Boom. Should we add a second stroke? No, let's not for this. But let's add a background. Now you see that that background is only affecting that text. You see, what you bring in from Adobe is set by Adobe. It's set by the elements that they've created with the lower third. That's why I think it was really important to show you how to do it yourself first, just in case you can't necessarily find exactly what you're looking for. You can build it yourself. And again, just like with the other one, we can change up, add the background, size that up a little bit, maybe around the corners. And if we click out, we can see, boom, we've got that. Nice. Now, say we want to leave the white as it is, but you can't quite see it. Well, this again is where having a shadow is really helpful. You can just literally, boom, and okay, that's not necessarily exactly how we want it, but we've added the shadow, so we can now edit this. And I can tell by looking at it that it's actually the distance that's a little bit off because the size of the text is so small. So let's drag down this distance a little bit. That's a little bit better, isn't it? And should we blur it a little bit? Bottom one. Just a little. That's nice. That looks good. So then, if we play it, boom, we've got our lower third already pre-made for us. And then it goes off. Now you know how to animate this. We can easily just set a keyframe right at the beginning, hit position, set another keyframe there, go back to the first, and maybe we have it coming in from the bottom. So we'll right click and temporal interpolation and ease out, temporal interpolation, ease in, and now we have lovely. Looks a bit amateurish, but okay, that works. So that's how to affect motion graphics templates that you've brought in from Adobe. There are so many other ones you can do as well. Let's get rid of this and let's have a look at maybe bold credits or titles. Let's bring in the bold credits. So that's again just on screen. But as you can see, there are so many different versions that you can play with right here. But there's one thing that you can see from that you can't see right now. But if you look a little bit closer, right here, we have some form of keyframing. And that is a fade out. It can't add a transition fade out as default. So what this does is if I highlight this and go to source, effects controls even, and select this, you can see, what does that mean? Well, that's actually already put a keyframe in opacity. And we were playing with opacity before. If I go to the first keyframe, it's at 100. If I go to the second keyframe, we're at 0. So this has actually added a fade out. But what you can't see, unless you look right here, is there's a difference in the color. And actually, if we tilde on the effects controls, there's a lot going on here. What's this? Well, I'll show you what this is. It's already animating in all of the text. And you'll recognize this text. This is the kind of text that you get at the end of a trailer for an up-and-coming film. See how all that is already done for you. To do that yourself, you'd be getting all the different lines, you'd be setting your keyframes and dragging them off, and you'd have to do that for each and every line you've got there, which you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. You'd have to do that and offset them, and it's done for you. Yeah, okay, the spacing isn't quite exactly right, but if we click in here, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's not got the right font in. So if we go and we find the right font, which is Bebas New, which I know is in here. You may have heard a beep a little bit earlier. That was because Adobe recognized that I didn't have the font and it added it. And you always get told, oh, we've added your font. Brilliant, thanks. Didn't really need telling that, just do it. But yeah, so that's now showing the right font. And this is what's really important. Whenever you bring something in, you need to check that the fonts being shown are the actual fonts. Because as you see, as I'm going through this, even though it says here that it's Bebas New regular, it's got these square brackets or square parentheses around them. So we just need to go in and just manually go through and select each element and just confirm, yep, that's the font I am using. Obviously you don't have to, you can use whatever font you like, but this font is correct to this kind of effect that you're looking for, which is the film credits. Looks great. Good, let's delete it. You can't be precious about any of these. And there are so many different types of motion graphics here. Now let's have a look at some of the more in-depth ones. And for that we go to Adobe Stock. And we've still got free up here. And here's one, Edgy Modern Transition for video. And if you scrub through, just like we could with the images, with the video, over in here, remember when we are, say, into our footage, and we're on our thumbnail, where's that gone again? Videos, and we've got them maybe sized up a little. Remember, you can pass through and have a quick view of what that clip is. Well, we can do that just as easily in here. It might take a couple of seconds depending on your internet connection, and for it to load a cache of it. Maybe click on it. Yeah. Oh, that's handy. That's changed. You used to just mouse over and it'd just start a whole load of animation, just like you do in here, but you actually got to click on this. And yeah, that's good. That looks quite cool. Should we use that? If you look here, by the way, you can see that these two shapes are coming in and that text has come up. But right here, this is black. And what you can't quite see, let me see if I can size this up. Yeah, okay, that's really big, but at least you can see it. Yeah, it wasn't that one. That one. It looks like it may be an alpha channel, which means there may be nothing. I want to point out something else in this clip, but let's get it down. So to get it down, you can do a couple of things. You can either click here to license and download. Just like with music, like I said before, you need to get a license for everything that you're using. And even though it's free, you need to attain the license. And by downloading, that automatically generates you a license to use it. So we can either click that, or we can just, as if it was on our computer, click and drag it into our timeline. So now we have a new motion graphics template to work with. So what can we do with this? Well, let's have a quick look at what's going on, because as you can see, once we highlight this and got it in selected, there's a lot going on in the effects controls. Let's tilde this and have a quick look. Maybe tilde the right thing, Adam. Oh, there's a load going on. I mean, like, there's keyframes here on opacity, there's keyframes here on opacity. If I scroll up, okay, looks like there's mainly keyframes on opacity on different layers. There's, yeah, more on opacity here. If I'm looking along here, scrolling down, you see how much there is here. And look, there's keyframes on position here, and there's different speed graphs that we've played with before. That's linear, but that's not. What is that? That's a Bezier curve, and that's been set for you. There's a load that's already been done for you. Imagine if you had to keyframe each and every one of these things. Not only that, but being able to visualize what you have to do to get what you want to achieve. If I just twirl up all of these are all, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 text properties there. There's then another, there's the shapes, there's everything. It's yeah, there's a lot going on here, and all you had to do was drag and drop it into your timeline. So let's see what it does then. Let's drag it right to the beginning and let's play. And then we animate out. That looks good. I like it. I'm going to bring it for the full, just to correct and be to the same length of time as the clip. And that should, because it's all automated, yeah. So it's affected the different length of time that things work because it's been pre-made. If I drag it out, you see how this stayed the same. This stays on for much longer, and then it starts animating out. Love it. I like this. Adobe have really stepped up their game with regards to their motion graphics, especially their free ones. Okay, so what do we want to do with this? Well, there's a load we can do with this because we can see each and every part of this motion graphics template is in here. So what we're going to do, let's start changing the text. So what do we want to do? We want to make it correct to our video. So let's say we want I'm gonna stay correct to what they're doing, which is all lowercase with a full stop at the end, and I'm going to say pizza. You can see also note that there's different colors here with regards to the full stop and the actual text, and it'll be interesting to see what we can change with that. So let's go pizza toppings eat. See how I'm just literally clicking in those texts and just editing them as if they're on a Word document, and our hashtag is going to be pizza time. That works. However, our colors aren't quite right. I'm not happy with the colors. Should we make the colors correct to what we had before with pizza time? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, blue rectangle. What's that? Well, the easy way to see what that blue rectangle is meaning is if we toggle on and off the eye. Okay, so that's the blue rectangle on here. What color do we want that to be? I think we want that to be I'd like it to be white actually, but I can see the problem that we're going to have the minute that we change it to white, because pizza time text is also white, but we'll deal with that. So let's set it to white and press OK. Now pizza time has disappeared. Well, we can bring that back because we're just going to pizza time and we're going to change the color of the text. The fill is going to be black. Maybe? Yeah, that'll pop out more. Good. Happy with that? We all good? Cool. Let's move on. Let's go back to the top. And I like these bits of text in white. I'm not too sure. Is the color of that affected within here? If I highlight that full stop and come down here, it is. So you can change the different colors of text by highlighting them and changing them within themselves. You can have more than one color in a text part. And what I want these to be, what color do I want that background to be? I think I want that background to be that green. So then let's say red. So we're going with the red, white and green of the Italian colors. So if I want that red, I'm going to go for this to be like a green, like a rich green. Now I'm going to do a little tip here. In fact, I'm going to show you two different ways. I'm going to just commit that. And if I click out, that green is set. Good. Okay. I want to do that again with this one. But if I go into the colors, if I highlight that, come down and go into the colors, probably not going to easily find that green again, and it's not going to be quite right. Well, a couple of ways we can do this. We want to change that fill, which is that full stop. We just grab the eyedropper tool, go over to that green and pick it and click and out, and those are now the exact same green. However, if you know you were going to be doing that, which is what I thought when I was doing the pizza, and I thought, oh, which way did I do first? If we go back into here and highlight this text and come down to the color and click in the color, because that color is picked, we have a hex code. Remember we were talking about hex codes before with 6D, 6D? Well, let's highlight that and Control and C. That's copied that to my clipboard. So all we now need to do is go here and highlight that full stop, click in the color and click down here. Control A to select all that text, Control V to paste on top of that, and look, it's picked the exact color we want. Boom, done, out. Good, eh? Right, let's keep going. I want to affect this purple now. I'm assuming that's the dark purple background, nicely labeled, and we want it the rich red. So let's come down all the way to red, and I love how it updates on here so we can kind of see. I think, yeah, I'm quite happy with that red. Boom, happy with that. So what color could this be? Well, this light blue could be white if we wanted it to be. Could we go white? Yeah, doesn't look as good as I want it to. What other color could it be? It could be this green. And bear in mind, we could color pick that green, or we still have it in our clipboard. So we could select all that, Control V again. There's our green. Boom, done. I like it. I also want to change the color of this hash in the hashtag. So let's select that, and I want that also to be the same green. So again, scroll down. It's currently set to black. Come into here, paste in our hex code, and okay. I also want to size that up. I've still got the hash highlighted. Let's just change that size just a little bit. Good. I'm happy with that. Let me just draw your attention to a couple of things. Looking at this whole graphics template, or MOGRT, motion graphics template, look at the couple elements of drop shadow. We have a drop shadow underneath here, right on this button. We also have a drop shadow on here. And the reason why I feel this drop shadow is on here is to create a bit of a drop shadow on the element below it, to kind of lift it off a bit. It adds to the effect, doesn't it? If I go to the dark purple background, which is no longer dark purple, it's actually dark red, I can right click and rename it so I can make it more correct. So let's say that's dark red background, and the light blue background is now a dark green background. So we do the same with that. And we don't have to do this, but just to keep everything nice. And oh, that's going to really annoy me because I didn't put a space in between the two words, and I've now done it in the wrong place. Good. And if I go into the dark red background and I scroll down, you can see that the shadow was actually created here. And to show you the difference that just that one little drop shadow makes. Wow. Let's play that without the drop shadow. Okay, it looks all right. But adding that drop shadow, just, it lifts it. It gives it almost more of a 3D effect. It's not 3D, obviously. But, yeah. Looks good there, doesn't it? Pizza, toppings, eat. Pizza time. Just drawing your attention to the amount of things that are animating here. So if we scrub through slowly, first we're greeted with the green, then we're greeted with the red. So those two establish what's going to come. Just like we had with the white background that came up with pizza time. And as we scroll along, so pizza fades in, as does toppings, as does eat, and then pizza time with a hashtag scrolls in. That's obviously a motion keyframe. And as we scroll through, once it starts, everything then goes in reverse. So the pizza time button animates out. We fade from bottom to top, and then we animate out the bottom layers. So everything then goes in reverse. Now, how could we then level this up a little bit? Well, what we could do is we could affect what's behind it. Because as you see, although I think you'll agree, this looks great, the problem we have here is that we can't quite see all of what's on the video. Now, we could just move it over. We've done that before, haven't we? Highlight the text, move it across with a position, and that looks great. But that only really looks great while this motion graphics template is on there. Once it animates off, and the problem then we have is the fact that we're now showing black bars to the side because the video is off to the side. So what we can do is we can build on our knowledge of our keyframing. So this is exactly where we want it when this comes on. But let's drag it to a point where it's not where we want it because the motion graphics template isn't on screen. All okay there. It's at that point, isn't it? Because that's where we can see black here. So let's use our arrow keys on our keyboard and just press right once. Okay, that's good. That's all covered. So I'm going to set a position keyframe right there. And let's go back to the beginning. So let's press up to go to the beginning of that clip. And let's just press reset. So that's now where the clip is in default. So let's add some time interpolation. So let's right click and ease out. Right click and ease in. And let's see if that covers. So tilde it out and play. Goes a little bit fast, doesn't it? And at one point we're still to the point where, yeah, we go a little bit too fast. So this all takes a little bit of jiggery pokery and playing around. Let's drag that keyframe out a little bit. So give it a little bit more time to move. And if I go back a little bit, okay, I've still got a bit. So I'm going to make this path just a little bit longer. Okay, that's not going to work. So let's bring this up here. So the first keyframe actually doesn't start at the beginning, but starts just a little bit in. It's almost like the movement of this motion graphic will then dictate this moving. Happy with that? That looks good. Now we need to do that in reverse for when it goes out. And I'd say we probably want to start moving the minute that that starts moving. So that's, yeah, start moving once. So let's hit a keyframe there. And I want to be moving at that point. In fact, I kind of want to be back by that point. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's a little bit too fast, isn't it? Let's tilde it into here and let's split these keyframes a little bit and see how that works. Okay, that's too long now, isn't it? So we need somewhere in the middle. Maybe if we start it moving earlier and have that. As you can see, it's a lot of playing around. Let's start it even earlier, almost like the video anticipates the movement of the motion graphics template. Good. It's a little bit fast, so let's drag that out a little bit. That's now taking too long. See how you need to really understand where you want to be. And actually, I actually want to be back by that point because in a couple of frames time, see, between those two frames is when this corner becomes uncovered. So let's say I want to be back by then. So let's snap that keyframe to here. Go back and that keyframe is there. Let's play that. Yeah, it's all right. I want to kind of ease in this though because it's not easing in. Let's see that. Okay, maybe it's just a little bit too much. Let's ease out that. Okay, that just, it goes a little bit too early for me. So let's say there. Almost, we're almost there. Drag out that keyframe just a little bit. I think we missed one frame, don't we? Let's go back. It's just there, isn't it? You see the tiny little micro adjustments that you need to make sometimes just to make something work. That works for me. I like that. Great. Love it. So that's how to do this so quickly, so easily in comparison to what you actually have showing on here. And imagine the amount of time you would need to take to then be able to do this manually. And it's all done for you. But knowing how to build these, or at least knowing how to build the elements that go into this, help you to understand just what you need to do to edit them in the way that you want them to be.